This player's name is Kiara 10101, and at first, based on her avatar, she looks like an ordinary Roblox player, nothing out of the normal. The items she uses are nothing special. If you enter her profile, you will see that there is nothing special there either. But no. Kiara ended up becoming quite famous because of her story. There are reports that she used to enter Brookhaven and kidnap other players. And if you go take a look at her profile, she has a game called Brookhaven RP. However, it is not the normal Brookhaven as we imagine it, the pretty Brookhaven with bright colors. As soon as you enter the game, you realize how disturbing this Brookhaven is. It's as if the normal Brookhaven had become a nightmare. And have you ever heard of Jenny Feelings? A girl who ended up having a somewhat suffering life on Roblox. This is because she suffered a lot of bullying in every game she entered on Roblox. People ended up humiliating her for the fact that she didn't have Robux, and it is in this video that I want to show you the story of these two accounts. Today's video is a bit long, so I advise you grab your wonderful little coffee and of course grab something for you to eat while you watch this video. But first, I want you to leave a like right at the start. Who is Kiara? Let's start by commenting a bit more about the player named Kiara, who ended up gaining a reputation as a kidnapper in Brookhaven. But before we understand Kiara's story, we need to understand the story of a random girl who just liked playing Roblox. I will nickname her Samara. Samara, one certain day, was having difficulty sleeping. She was doing everything to sleep, but she couldn't. Various thoughts were coming into her head, and she simply couldn't stop, lie down, and sleep. So she decides to turn on the computer and enter Roblox, more specifically, Brookhaven. As soon as she entered Brookhaven, she noticed that the server was completely empty. Because in case you didn't know, this story takes place in 2020 during the pandemic, which was when Brookhaven had just been released. So Brookhaven really wasn't as famous as it is nowadays. Samara then entered Brookhaven around 3 in the morning. She was very happy because there was no one on the server. It was just her. In other words, she had the whole game just for herself. Minutes passed, and a person enters with the name Kiara 10101. It was then that Samara decides to look for Kiara inside the game. However, she didn't see anyone. Until at a certain moment, she ends up finding Kiara on the server out of nowhere, and she was standing in the street, simply doing nothing. It was then that Samara asks, "Do you need help?" And Kiara simply doesn't respond at all. Samara then decides to ask if she wanted to go to her house in Brookhaven. So Kiara accepts the invitation and decides to go to Samara's house. While the two were going to the house, they were talking normally. Nothing bizarre was happening. Kiara was saying normal things. They arrived at the house. Samara ended up lying in the bed normally in Brookhaven. Anyway, the two were playing in an RP way, as if it were a roleplay. But then, simply out of nowhere, while Samara was sleeping, Kiara appears right in front of her bed, simply staring at her without saying a single word. Shortly after, Kiara tries to jump on Samara's bed as if she were wanting to scare her or something of the sort. It was then that Samara got up, left her own house in Brookhaven, and decided to close the server. Simply, very scared. It was then that she decides to enter some other server because she had really become very scared of being on the same server as Kiara. However, every server she entered, Kiara was there. And Kiara always said this in the chat, "I love you." Samara then was extremely shocked by this because she couldn't play in another server without Kiara being in it. It's as if Kiara was stalking the girl. Minutes later, Samara is bombarded with several friend requests on Roblox, requests that were from Kiara. And it's obvious that Samara always ignored them, deleted them. However, curiosity ended up hitting Samara to find out who this Kiara person is. It was then that she decides to open her profile, and the description of Kiara's profile says the following: "I love you." And at the time, Kiara had some friends added on Roblox and 0 followers. However, she was in a group called Oculto, and Samara saw this group, and she ended up finding it very bizarre and decided to report this group. Samara says that they did very strange things in that group, so that was why she ended up reporting it. The next day, Samara ended up commenting on this with her friends, but her friends didn't give it much thought and thought it was just a joke of hers. Some Reddit users ended up telling Samara to block this girl, that she is dangerous, and that she could do a lot of harm to Samara. That was what Samara did. So she ended up blocking Kiara's profile on Roblox, and the moment she did that, surely that feeling of relief came, because it meant that she would never see Kiara in any other Roblox game again. But no, weeks passed, and Samara simply, out of nowhere, ends up receiving a package inside her house that came from Amazon. It's obvious that Samara ended up a bit confused because she hadn't ordered anything over the internet, and simply a delivery arrives for her out of nowhere. Samara found it very strange, but nonetheless, she accepted the package and decided to open it. As soon as she opened the package, there were flowers inside the box. Not just the flowers, but also a note. A note written, "I know where you live now. You can be mine." Written by Kiara 10101. As soon as Samara finished reading and saw those flowers, she ended up very scared. Simply, she ended up in a state of shock because she didn't know what to do. She didn't know this Kiara person, and simply, out of nowhere, ends up receiving a package at her house from this Kiara. So it is obvious that Samara was immediately in shock afterward and decided to spend a few days at her grandmother's house to see if this Kiara would forget her and leave her in peace. So Samara stayed at her grandmother's house. She stayed there for 1 or 2 weeks to let the dust settle a bit, because she really was in a state of shock. She was very scared indeed. A week passed, and she returned to her own house. Finally, she was calmer. She had even forgotten about this whole incident. It was then that she decides to enter Brookhaven again, because obviously, it is the game she liked playing most. As soon as she enters the game, she realizes it is not the same Brookhaven, that Brookhaven had changed. And when she clicks to see the people on the server, she sees that Kiara is also in the game. Samara then ends up getting very scared. Right away, she has some chills and enters a state of panic upon seeing Kiara in the same game as her. It was then that she decides to talk a bit more with Kiara. Throughout the game, Kiara sees bodies scattered on the floor, and the sky is completely red, as if Brookhaven had turned into a nightmare. While the two were walking through the game and talking, Kiara said that all the bodies scattered on the ground are the people she kidnapped and put inside the game. Meanwhile, Samara says nothing. She simply pays close attention to what Kiara is saying. As soon as Kiara finishes speaking, Samara simply closes the game and ends up uninstalling Roblox to never play again. Well, as you can see, I am here on Kiara's profile, and it's what I said. She seems to be a normal account. Look, her avatar is very common, and she uses the name Kiara 101010, etc. I don't know why she put all those numbers, but okay. Her About section is currently content deleted, but it was written I love you here before, and then Roblox deleted it. I don't know why. She ended up joining in 2022, and, well, she has this game here that I told you about, which is the Brookhaven RP. I tried to play it myself, but this Brookhaven game is no longer available now. It has been taken down or hidden from the public. However, according to those who witnessed it, the experience was haunting. It is said that in this Brookhaven, the sky used to be a deep blood red color, and the familiar happy music was replaced by a distorted, low-pitched hum. There were dead bodies scattered everywhere, in the streets, inside the houses, and even in front of the police station. These weren't just random NPCs. The legend says they were the avatars of the actual players she had kidnapped in other servers. Some players claimed that if you stayed in that game for too long, your screen would start to flicker with messages saying, "You are mine now." It was basically simulating the dark story where Kiara trapped her victims, forcing them to stay forever in her own twisted nightmare version of the game. Even though the game is gone, the mystery of what really happened to those players still lingers in the community. Jenny Feelings. Who is Jenny Feelings? This girl ended up becoming very famous on Roblox because she ended up making a map called Feelings. It is a map where she tells a bit more about her life. But Jenny's story begins at school and not on Roblox. At school, she suffered a lot of bullying. She was humiliated by all her classmates. Whenever there were those famous group projects, she was always excluded. She simply didn't have any friends at her school and was always depressed because of it. It was then that Jenny ended up discovering Roblox, and she ended up falling very much in love with Roblox. She started playing it almost every day. It was then that she decided to try to make some friends inside Roblox. But whenever she entered these games, she ended up being humiliated as well. As if it wasn't enough being humiliated in real life by her own classmates, she was also being humiliated on Roblox. This is because, as you can see on her avatar, she didn't have much Robux. Her avatar was much simpler and very common. Because of this, people who had Robux ended up bullying her a lot, calling her poor, saying she was a noob, and other things. It was then that Jenny ended up having the brilliant idea to create a map on Roblox where she could express her feelings and portray a bit of her suffering life. Jenny's story became very famous. If you go search her name on YouTube, several story animation videos will appear. Some animations are even quite heavy. If we come here to Roblox and search Jenny Feelings, which is her profile, a lot of people will appear. A lot of people using the same avatar as hers, as if they were fans of hers or to pay some tribute to her because her story became very famous. However, this here is the official profile of Jenny. When you click on her profile, you notice that her photo is blocked, her avatar was blocked, and I have no idea why. She has 23,000 followers and she joined Roblox in 2018. And her About on Roblox says the following: "The end, as it should have been so many years ago." My God, I'm getting sad, man. I'm getting sad, old man. Here we can see that she created a game called Feelings. It has 2 million visits, but when you click to play, the game simply isn't available anymore. However, they ended up making sort of a copy of the original game, and I ended up finding it. Right away in the game, we can see that we are sort of looking down, right? It's raining, it's a very sad atmosphere, and we are looking down as if we were very sad, depressed. Look at the vibe of this game, man. Right at the start, there's Jenny there in her room, right? My name is Jenny. These are my feelings. Yeah, her feelings aren't very good, right? Let's be honest. Look at the vibe of this game here. We can hear some laughter, and we can see that Jenny is being humiliated. There are some people laughing at her face. Are you guys able to hear it? Look at this, my God. Loser, fake, fat, creepy, stupid. People are insulting Jenny and humiliating her. Look at this here, man. Jenny is all sad there, old man. Poor thing. They bully me every day, man. I'm going to end up crying in this video, for real. Look, there's a crowd here in the game too. Let's see this other scene here. They will never listen. And here is basically Jenny, but one of the people who was laughing at her is here on her living room sofa. It's as if she were having a hallucination in her own house. In other words, this means that not even in her own home does she have peace, because she ends up having hallucinations of people who mock her face and who keep bullying her. Man, all of this is very sad. All of this happened because of bullying. And, man, it's very sad to think that this here maybe happened because of bullying, you know? Do you think Kiara's story is real, or is it just a fake little story? Comment down below. Comment also what you thought about Jenny's story on Roblox, which had a very tragic end as well. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, leave a like too, it's very important. And also, of course, don't forget to comment I'm ending the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed another video about some very bizarre accounts inside Roblox.